Hey, basketball fans, welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for the hottest NBA regular season predictions. I'm Kokan, and I'm here to break down today's matchups and give you the edge you need to make the best bets. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support means the world to us. Remember, our channel has no sponsors and relies solely on the love and support of viewers like you. Even a small donation by pressing the thanks button under the video helps us keep bringing you top-notch content every day. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow basketball enthusiasts. And we love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know what you want to see in our forecasts. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you the content you crave. Let's jump right into today's NBA predictions. We've got some exciting games lined up, so stay tuned and let's get that winning streak going. Today we have predictions for 6 NBA games. The first prediction for today is for a game between the Memphis Grizzlies and Indiana Pacers. Guys, the NBA is finally back, and this game between the Grizzlies and the Pacers has me fired up. I've been watching Memphis all season. They're 36-18 and practically on autopilot when it comes to scoring, averaging 123.3 points a night with a smooth 48.6% from the field and 37.5% beyond the arc. They're a scoring juggernaut. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. have been running the show like a well-oiled pick and roll, and with 5 guys putting up double digits, you know they've got the firepower to dismantle any defense. Desmond Bane's off the charts as a shooter, and when the ball's moving, it's hard to stop this squad. That said, Memphis has always been a different beast at home, boasting a 21-6 record, but on the road, they're a bit more hit or miss, sitting at 15-12. And don't even get me started on those pesky turnovers. They're one of the worst in the league and could really bite them in a tight matchup. Flip the script to the Pacers, who are 30-23 and carving out their own niche with one of the league's sharpest offenses. Indiana is putting up 116 points per game, and they're doing it with a level of precision that's hard to ignore. Pascal Siakam's been a force inside, consistently dropping 20.7 points and snatching rebounds at a clip, while Tyrese Halliburton is the engine, dishing out 8.5 dimes on average and keeping things moving. Sure, their defense has had its ups and downs, giving up 115.6 points a night, but lately, they've been locking it down a bit better, especially in the paint and on the perimeter. They've even started to find that sweet spot on the boards, which is key against a team that loves to dish out buckets. Now, get this, the total points line is set at a jaw-dropping 249.5. I mean, have you ever seen a number that high this early in the season? It's a clear sign we're in for a fast-paced, high-scoring slugfest. The Grizzlies' offensive brilliance and the Pacers' well-oiled scoring machine are bound to light up the scoreboard. And while Morant is listed as questionable with that lingering knee issue, if anyone can play through it, it's him. All things considered, I'm leaning towards the Pacers here. With Memphis not quite hitting their stride on the road and Indiana's home court mojo still strong, I'm expecting the Pacers to cover the spread and keep things rolling at a breakneck pace. It's going to be one of those games where every possession counts, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Welcome to BetUS, Sportsbook and Casino, your ultimate hub for secure and thrilling sports betting and casino gaming. BetUS is one of the oldest and most reliable online sportsbooks in the U.S., serving millions of clients all over the globe each month. BetUS, trusted for over 30 years, offers huge welcome bonuses, countless betting options, and many deposit and payout methods. Depositing funds is a breeze and safe, with a minimum deposit of just $10. Payouts are fast and hassle-free, beginning at only $50. Choose from various payout options like MoneyGram, couriered check, cryptocurrency, or bank wire. Signing up is quick and easy. For signing up, you can use the link in the description and enjoy a generous 125% welcome bonus of up to $3,000. By signing up using the link in the description, you'll also support us as we earn a small commission from your registration at BetUS. Thank you for supporting us. Join now and start winning.
The second prediction for today is for a game between the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers. Man, watching these two go at it is like witnessing a masterclass in resilience and adjustment. The Celtics have been doing it for years, leading the head-to-head series by a solid margin and taking down Philly 7 out of the last 10 times. I mean, remember that epic comeback on February 2nd at Wells Fargo? Down by 26, they flipped the script in the fourth quarter and ended up with an 118-110 win. Tatum was on fire with 35 points and 11 dimes, and Brown, along with Porzingis and White, really stepped up to fill in the gaps. Their offensive flow was smooth, hitting 50% from the field and nearly 43% from downtown, while their defense clamped down hard, holding the 76ers to under 46% shooting. On the flip side, Philly has been a mixed bag. They did manage to squeak out a win on Christmas Day, where they looked to be in control early, leading after the first and second quarters, but they couldn't maintain the momentum and ended up letting the Celtics back into the game. Tyrese Maxey was trying to carry the load with 33 points and 12 dimes, and Embiid put up respectable numbers, but it just wasn't enough. The Sixers' defense has been all over the place, ranking among the worst in the league, and that's a problem when you're trying to lock down a team that can really heat up when given room to breathe. Coming off the All-Star break, Philly's been a roller coaster, starting off strong with a 39-16 record, but then going 20-34 afterwards. It feels like they needed that reset button, but sometimes it's just not enough when your pieces aren't clicking. With key guys like Embiid, Paul George, and Maxey expected to be in the mix, and the injury bug only nibbling at a few role players, there's hope. But honestly, when you watch their lackluster offensive numbers and sluggish pace, it's hard to shake the feeling that the 76ers just haven't found that groove yet. Meanwhile, the Celtics have this unique edge when they play on the road. Despite some early struggles, they've figured out how to adjust mid-game. When you see them come out in the second half, it's like they've flipped a switch. Their defense tightens up, they start moving the rock better, and suddenly the big plays start to flow. Both teams are playing at a slow, deliberate pace, which puts a premium on defensive adjustments. Boston's top 5 defensive rating versus Philly's bottom-tier offensive efficiency tells you a lot about where this battle might tip. In my eyes, if Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, and White keep hitting their shots and the Celtics maintain that lockdown defense, they're primed not just to win, but to cover that 7-point spread. Philly's got to figure out how to stop the tide, improving on the defensive end and tightening up on the boards, if they hope to slow down the Celtics' momentum. I'm leaning hard toward Boston coming out on top, and I'd even back the total points to stay under 225.5. It's going to be a chess match on the court, but the signs are all in favor of the Celtics reclaiming their dominance and Philly struggling to keep up. Before we move on, I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing might seem like a small action, but it actually makes a big impact for us. Plus, it's completely free for you. Have you clicked that subscribe button? Awesome, thank you so much for your support. Now let's dive back into the video. The third prediction for today is for a game between the Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks. I gotta say, this matchup between the Magic and the Hawks has my attention. Heading into Atlanta, the Magic are looking to put together a performance that could change their whole vibe for the rest of the season. They've been up and down all year with a 27-29 record, and while Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner have shown flashes of brilliance, their offense has been more like a broken playbook, struggling to hit shots and consistently put points on the board. They're barely scraping by at around 104 points per game, and their shooting percentages are among the worst in the league. But when it comes to defense, man, they've got a unit that can shut teams down like nobody's business. When healthy, they lock things up, giving up just over 105 points on average, and they really force opponents to fight for every rebound and every loose ball. Now, flip the script to the Hawks. With a similar record at 26-29, Atlanta's been lighting it up lately, winning 4 of their last 6 games. Trae Young is the heartbeat of that squad, dishing out magic with 23.7 points and a league-best 11.5 assists per game. However, losing Jalen Johnson for the season and trading away DeAndre Hunter means Atlanta's counting on guys like Onyeka Okongwu and Zachary Riziger to step up their game. Their offense is as fast as it is furious, pushing nearly 117 points per game thanks to a deep roster where 10 players are chipping in double digits. But their defense? It's been kind of a mess, letting opponents hit shots at a crazy pace and giving up about 119 points per contest. That's a recipe for disaster if they can't lock things down. What really gets me hyped about this game is the classic clash of styles. The Magic are going to be all about grinding down their opponents with a lockdown, physical defense, pressuring the Hawks guards, especially trying to disrupt Trae Young's rhythm. They're going to force Atlanta into tough shots and slow the pace down to their liking. On the flip side, the Hawks need to crank up the tempo and let their offensive arsenal run wild before the Magic's defensive schemes can settle in. Historically, the Hawks have had the edge in head-to-head battles, winning the last 3 meetings, so Orlando's got a chip on its shoulder to flip that script. For me, the play is all about the under. Orlando's games have often turned into low-scoring grind sessions, and I'm leaning towards this one following that trend, especially with the Magic pulling the Hawks into their methodical, defense-first style. If the Magic can keep Young in check and force Atlanta into a half-court, deliberate rhythm, we might just see the total points staying under that projected 223.5 mark. Sure, Atlanta's home court advantage and extra point from the spread give them a little boost, but I'm really banking on the defensive intensity and physicality from Orlando to keep things tight. At the end of the day, it's all about which team can impose their style on the game. I'm excited to see if the Magic can finally get their offensive engine humming, or if the Hawks will continue to dominate with their fast-paced attack. Either way, it's gonna be a gritty, hard-fought battle, exactly the kind of hoops action that makes watching basketball such a thrill. The fourth prediction for today is for a game between the Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks. Man, when the Bulls roll up to MSG to face the Knicks, you know it's gonna be one heck of a hoops showdown. Sure, Chicago's got a slight edge on paper, holding a 130 to 118 lead in the head-to-head, and even snagging both wins this season with a razor-thin 124 to 123 nail-biter at the Garden and a 139 to 126 blowout at home. But don't get it twisted. The Knicks have been making noise lately, going 6-4 against the Bulls in their last 10 matchups, and even holding their own at MSG with a 3-2 mark. They're itching to flip the script, and that's where things get interesting. Right now, the Bulls are in a weird spot. Sitting at 22-33 and stuck in the play-in picture, they're still trying to figure out their rhythm after the shock of trading Zach LaVine to the Kings. It's like they're running a game of capture the flag, scoring in bursts, but lacking the steady flow you need in a full 48-minute game. I mean, when they took down the Knicks at the United Center, they were down early 33-29 after Q1 and 72-63 at halftime, then suddenly exploded in the third, dropping 41 straight points while holding the Knicks to just 17 in that quarter. Kobe White was absolutely on fire, hitting 33 points with a barrage of threes, while Nikola Vucevic posted a solid double-double, 22-12, and Josh Giddey dished out a near triple-double performance. Even though the Bulls were splashing 54.3% overall and almost 54% from downtown, and hitting free throws like they were nothing, they still got overrun on the glass, losing the board battle 49-43. For Chicago to stay in this game, they've got to keep that long-range stroke sizzling and get Vucevic to own the paint. They can't keep relying solely on Kobe White to carry the load night after night. Meanwhile, the Knicks, led by the ever-dominant Karl Anthony Towns and his right-hand man Jalen Brunson, are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. Towns has been tearing it up, and even though the Knicks had some rocky starts in past matchups, they've always managed to rally back. New York's been knocking down over 50% of their shots lately, and their free throw game is on point, hitting upwards of 84%. Add in their knack for snatching those offensive rebounds, averaging more than 10 per game, and you've got a recipe for extra possessions and fast break opportunities. Now, here's where it gets real for me. After that LaVine trade, I'm leaning hard into fading the Bulls for the rest of the season. It just seems like they're too dependent on sporadic bursts from a few players rather than a balanced attack. Sure, Vucevic is a beast in the paint and Giddey can dish out across the board, but the overall vibe has been off. With the spread sitting at a hefty 13.5 points, I don't see the Bulls keeping it close when the Knicks are hungry to make a statement on their home court. Even though Chicago did manage to edge the Knicks twice this year, one game decided by a buzzer beater and another by a more comfortable margin, the momentum is clearly swinging towards New York. The Knicks have been rolling with a 36-18 record, and their ATS numbers are impressive too, while the Bulls have been struggling, losing 4 out of their last 5. And let's be honest, the Knicks are set up for a sweet revenge trip at MSG. They're coming off a solid rest during the All-Star break and look poised to turn their early season hiccups into a second-half surge. For the Bulls to pull off an upset, they need to be dialed in from downtown and get that Vucevic to command the paint like he's got a target on his back. They also have to slow down the Knicks' breakneck pace. If New York gets to push the tempo, it's going to be a long night in Chicago. On the flip side, if the Knicks can keep their eyes on the prize, minimize turnovers, and dominate the boards, I can see them blowing out the game by double digits. I'm even thinking the total points might stay under the projected 245, given that both teams seem a bit cautious on the offensive end lately. At the end of the day, I'm all in on the Knicks. Their balanced shooting, solid free throw play, and ability to control the glass give them a clear advantage, especially at home. In my book, this is a game where New York is set to drop a big win on Chicago, and if I had to throw down some cash, I'd be laying the points with the Knicks while riding the under on total points. It's gonna be a wild ride, but I'm excited to see how it all goes down. The fifth prediction for today is for a game between the Los Angeles Clippers and Milwaukee Bucks. All right, let me break it down. We've got a classic showdown coming up with the Bucks hosting the Clippers, and you know how these games can swing wildly based on who's healthy and who's not. The Clippers have been on fire despite some key absences. Kawhi's been MIA for most of the season, having played just 15 games, but the squad has found ways to keep the lights on. Before the All-Star break, they went on a 3-game run, knocking off the Jazz twice and taking down the Grizzlies, and that's got them sitting at 31-23 in the West. Even without their superstar, James Harden is doing his thing, dropping roughly 21.5 points, dishing out 8.5 assists, and pulling down 5.5 rebounds per contest. Ivica Zubac has been stepping up too, averaging a double-double with about 15.5 points and 12.5 boards. Guy's been a real force in the paint. And let's not forget the trade deadline moves. Adding Bogdan Bogdanovic and Ben Simmons has seriously beefed up their backcourt defense, while Norman Powell has exploded for around 24.2 points a game, putting him in the conversation for most improved player. It's clear the Clippers have adapted well, even if their rotation has been a bit shuffled by injuries. Now, on the other side, the Bucks have been a bit of a roller coaster lately. Sitting at 29-24 and holding the 5th seed in the East, they've only managed to win 4 out of their last 10 games, including a rough 4-game skid. The big question mark for Milwaukee is Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's been sidelined with a nasty calf injury, missing 4 straight games, and even skipping the All-Star festivities. When he's on, Giannis is an absolute beast, averaging over 31 points, 12 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists, so his absence really hits home. Damian Lillard, who did make the All-Star cut, is stepping up with averages of 25 points and 7.5 assists, but it's clear the Bucks are feeling the pinch. In an effort to revitalize the roster, Milwaukee traded out Chris Middleton, who's been plagued by injuries, and brought in Kyle Kuzma from the Wizards. Plus, they snagged Kevin Porter Jr. from the Clippers, which adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the matchup. Home court is another big factor here. The Bucks have been rock solid at Fiserv Forum, boasting an 18-9 record on their home floor, and when you factor in that they're 25-14 overall as favorites, it really adds to their credibility. In head-to-head matchups, Milwaukee has been dominant against the Clippers, winning 7 out of the last 10 games. That's a stat you can't ignore, especially considering the Clippers haven't had much luck on the road in Milwaukee. They've only managed 1 win in 6 trips. What really makes this game fascinating is the injury drama on both sides. The Clippers have been forced to innovate without Kawhi, leaning hard on Harden's playmaking and Powell's scoring outburst, while also benefiting from the added shooting punch of Bogdanovic. Meanwhile, the Bucks are gambling on their depth to cover for Giannis' absence, with Lillard and some younger legs trying to keep the offense clicking. It's all about who can make the most of the situation and who can stay relatively healthy as the season winds down. Personally, I'm leaning towards the Bucks pulling this one at home. Their home court advantage, coupled with a more balanced roster and a history of dominating the Clippers in recent meetings, gives them the edge, even if Giannis is still on the mend. The Clippers have shown they can play some serious hoops, but their struggles on the road and the constant shuffle due to injuries might just tip the scales in Milwaukee's favor. It's a game where every possession counts, and if the Bucks can control the boards, hit a few early three-pointers, and capitalize on their fast breaks, they're in a good position to cover that small spread. At the end of the day, it all comes down to those injury reports and last-minute roster tweaks. In a league where every detail can change the outcome, keeping an eye on who's cleared to play is critical. Right now, with all the factors in play and the Bucks showing better consistency at home, I'm betting on Milwaukee to take the win and put another notch on their record. Just be sure to check the latest injury updates before you make any moves, because in this game, as in all of basketball, things can change in the blink of an eye. The sixth prediction for today is for a game between the Phoenix Suns and San Antonio Spurs. Guys, this one's a fascinating clash that might not set the conference on fire at first glance, but there's plenty of personal drama and matchup intrigue to sink your teeth into. Picture this. The San Antonio Spurs are taking the floor at the Moody Center in Austin, a venue that isn't their usual stomping ground, but part of their grand plan to light up new markets. And it just so happens that Kevin Durant is heading back to where it all began for him in college. It's like a full circle moment, with KD looking to drop some buckets on his old Texas turf, and you know that kind of homecoming always brings extra energy. Now, let's talk about the vibe coming into this one. The Suns already posted a solid win over the Spurs earlier in the season, cruising to a 104-93 victory, but things have gotten a bit messy since then. Phoenix is riding a rough patch. They're 26-28 and have been hit hard with a string of losses, including a 119-111 setback to the Rockets that left them on a 3-game skid. With their playoff hopes hanging by a thread, they're just 1.5 games shy of grabbing that last play-in spot, and every possession counts now. To make matters tougher, Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are listed as day-to-day, so it wouldn't be surprising if Durant ends up shouldering a heavier load than usual. Even though KD lit it up against Houston with 37 points, 9 assists, and 5 boards, it just wasn't enough without his key scorers firing on all cylinders. And while rookie Nick Richards put up a respectable double-double, you need a full house of talent to pull off a win in these crunch times. On the flip side, the Spurs aren't exactly in prime form either. Sitting at 23-29 and trailing Phoenix by a couple of games, they've been struggling mightily, losing 7 of their last 10 outings. Their season has been a roller coaster, and a string of non-competitive games has left fans scratching their heads. The young core is promising, with Victor Wembanyama and rookie Stephon Castle showing glimpses of brilliance, but inconsistency is still their shadow. The addition of De'Aaron Fox has added some much-needed speed and firepower. Fox even led the charge with 23 points and 5 dimes in their last outing against Boston, but without a full roster presence. Especially with Wembanyama's status turning doubtful because of an illness, the Spurs could find themselves in deep water on the defensive end. Defense, or rather the lack of it, is a huge story here for both squads. The Suns have been giving up way too many points, and their inability to lock down opponents is painfully evident. They're among the worst defensively, allowing over 115 points per 100 possessions. Meanwhile, the Spurs have been no better, struggling to keep teams under 110 points in most of their recent games. Both teams are exploding from beyond the arc too. Phoenix is one of the league's top 3-point shooting units, and while San Antonio tries to lean on their long-range game, they're only hitting about 35% of their attempts. For me, this matchup is like a microcosm of the season's struggles. It's a neutral site game with high stakes where personal redemption meets team survival. Durant's return to his old stomping grounds should fire him up, and if the Suns can pull Booker and Beal back from the injury list, I wouldn't be surprised to see them cover the spread once again. They've historically outplayed the Spurs in these meetings, and while both teams are chasing consistency, the offensive edge, especially from deep, leans toward Phoenix. Sure, the total has been bumped up by the books, but if the Suns can tighten up their rebounding and patch their defensive leaks, I'm calling it. The Suns should have enough juice to outlast the Spurs in this one.